I am Donna, together with my other group mates were Ivy, Alex, Sophia, Warren, and Ahlea. And we are the group. We are here to present to you the chapter 12 of Electronic Commerce System. So first, let's talk about the learning objectives. So after studying this chapter, you should be acquainted with the topologies that are employed to achieve connectivity across the internet. Possess a conceptual appreciation of protocols and understand the specific purposes that several internet protocols serve. Understand the business benefits associated with the internet commerce and be aware of several internet business models. Be familiar with the risks associated with internet and internet electronic commerce. Understand the issues of security, assurance, and trust pertaining to electronic commerce, and be familiar with the electronic commerce implications for the accounting profession. So now, first, what is the electronic commerce? So this is all about the electronic processing and transmission of data. Electronic commerce involves in many diverse activities such as electronic buying and selling of goods and services, online delivery of digital products, electronic funds transfer or EFT, electronic trading of stocks, and direct consumer marketing. Furthermore, we all know that electronic commerce is not an entirely new phenomenon. Many companies have engaged in electronic data interchange or EDI or over a private networks for decades. All of this is driven by the internet revolution. However, electronic commerce has dramatically expanded and undergone radical changes in recent years and has endangered an array of innovative markets and trading communities. So before we proceed, what is the internet? So internet is it is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected network using standardized communication protocols. So now let's first have a short history of the internet. So the internet was originally developed for the US military and later became used widely for academic and government research. There are three factors of internet. So the first one is in 1995, national commercial telecommunication companies took control of the backbone elements of the internet and have continued to enhance their infrastructures, such as MCI, Sprint, and UUNET. The second factor is online services like CompuServe and America Online connect to the internet for the email, which enables users of different services to communicate with each other. And the last factor is the development of graphics-based web browsers, such as Microsoft's Internet Explorer, which has made accessing the internet as simple as. So now let's talk about the different kinds of internet technologies. The first one is the packet switching, where the messages are divided into small packets for transmission, and individual packets of the same message may take different routes to their destination. The second one is the virtual private networks, or the VPNs, which are private networks within a public network. The third one is the extranets. So extranets is a password control network for a private users rather than the general public. And the fourth one is the World Wide Web, or the WWW. So it is an internet facility that links users, sites locally and around the world. Lastly is the internet addresses. So in the internet addresses, we have the three types of addresses for communication. The first one is the email address. The second one is the website URL addresses. And the last one is the Internet Protocol or IP address of individual computers attached to a network. So now, before we proceed to the next topic is let's first define the word protocol. So protocol are the rules and standards governing the design of a hardware and software that permits users of networks which different vendors have manufactured to communicate and share data. So now let's have the protocols function. First, they facilitate the physical connection between the network devices. So through protocols, devices are able to identify themselves to other devices as legitimate network entities and initiate or terminate a communication session. The second one is protocol synchronize the transfer of data between physical devices. So this involves defining the rules of initiating a message, determine the data transfer rate between devices, and acknowledging message receipt. The third one is protocols provide a basis for error checking and measuring network performance. So this is done by comparing measured results against expectation. The fourth one is protocols promote compatibility among network devices rather. Because without protocols to provide such conformity, messages sent between devices will be distorted and garbled. Finally, protocols promote network designs that are flexible, expandable, and cost-effective. Therefore, manufacturers must, of course, construct these products in accordance with established protocols. So the next topic is the layered approach to network protocol. So now let me tell you first about the purpose of layered protocols or layered approach. So the purpose of layered protocol model is to create a modular environment that reduces complexity and permits changes to one layer without adversely affecting one another. And now, the data communication community, through the help of international standards organization, they have developed their set of protocols called the Open System Interface or OSI. So, Open System Interface or OSI model provides standards by which the products of different manufacturers can interface with one another in a seamless interconnection at the user level. That's all on my part. The next reporter will be Miss Ivy.
Thank you, Miss Donna. Good day, everyone. I'm Ashely C, and we will continue our discussion about protocols. So let's talk about Internet protocols. So Transfer Control Protocol or Internet Protocol is the basic protocol that permits communication between Internet sites. It was invented by Vinton Cerf and Bob Ka under contract from the U.S. Department of Defense. This protocol controls how individual packets of data are formatted, transmitted, and received. Let's divide it into two portions, the TCP and IP portion. The TCP portion of the protocol ensures that the total number of data bytes transmitted was received, while the IP component provides the routing mechanism or kung paano siya mata-transfer using IP address. There are different protocols that commonly used for specific tasks, which are file transfer protocols or FTP, mail protocols, security protocols, network news transfer protocol, HTTP and HTTPNG, and HTML. Let's discuss each one of them. File Transfer Protocol or FTP is used to transfer text files, programs, spreadsheets, and databases across the internet. Telnet, or the inherent part of TCP or IP, is a terminal emulation protocol used on TCP or IP-based networks. It allows users to run a program and review data from a remote terminal or computer. While both protocols deals with data transfer, FTP is useful to download entire files from the internet, while Telnet is useful for perusing, meaning to read, study, or examine a file of data as if the user were actually at the remote site. Next, Simple Network Mail Protocol or SNMP is the most popular protocol for transmitting email messages. It is a service that handles your inbound and outbound emails in a secure manner over the internet. There are other email protocols as well, such as the Post Office Protocol and Internet Message Access Protocol. Under security protocols, we will discuss the SSL, PCT, SET, and PEM. Secure Socket Layer or SSL is a lower level encryption scheme used to secure transmission in higher level HTTP format, while Private Communication Technology or PCT is a security protocol that provides security transactions over the web. It encrypts and decrypts a message for transmission. Next, Security Electronic Transmission is an encryption scheme developed by a consortium of technology firms and banks to secure credit card transmission. Lastly, Privacy Enhanced Mail or PEM is a standard for a secure email on the internet. It supports encryption, digital signatures, and digital certificates, as well as both private and public key methods na i-discuss mamaya ng mga next reporters. The fourth one is Network News Transfer Protocol or NNTP is used to connect to Usenet groups on the internet. Yung Usenet is similar to an online forum or discussion platform where users can discuss various topics in so-called news groups. HTTP controls web browsers that access the web. Meanwhile, Hypertext Transport Protocol or HTTP Next Generation is an enhanced version of the HTTP protocol that maintains the simplicity of HTTP while adding important features such as security and authentication. And lastly, Hypertext Markup Language or HTML is the document format used to produce web pages. It is used to lay out information for individual in an appealing manner. Again, refresher ng topic natin sa chapter 8 na dahil sa limitation or issues ng HTML pagdating sa paggamit or pag-disseminate ng financial reports, kaya nagkaroon ng application of XML and XBRL. So now let's talk about the benefits we receive from internet commerce. These are access to a worldwide customer and or supplier base, reduction in inventory investment and carrying costs, the rapid creation of business partnership to fill market niches as they emerge, reduction in retail price through lower marketing costs, reduction in procurement costs, and better customer service. However, not all organizations enjoy these benefits. It depends on the degree of organizational commitment to internet commerce as a business strategy. So as we discuss the three-level in internet business model, alamin din natin kung paano ba natin ma-attain itong mga benefits na ito sa bawat level na i-discuss natin. So at the information level of activity, an organization uses the internet to display information about the company, its products, services, and business policies. It is the first step taken by most firms entering the internet marketplace. To be successful at this level, the organization must ensure that information displayed on the website is current, complete, and accurate. Next is customers can find the site and successfully navigate through it. An adequate hardware and software infrastructure exists to facilitate quick access during high usage periods, and only authorized users access information on the site. Next, organizations involved at the transaction level use the internet to accept orders from customers and or to place them with their suppliers. Success in this domain involves creating an environment of trust by resolving the key concerns listed, such as ensure that data used in the transaction are protected from misuse, verify the accuracy and integrity of business processes used by the potential customer, partner, or supplier, verify the identity and physical existence of the potential customer, partner, or supplier, and establish the reputation of the potential customer, partner, or supplier. Lastly, organizations operating on the distribution level use the internet to sell and deliver digital products to customers. This includes subscriptions to online news services, software products and upgrades, and music and video products. Now, let's take a look of this figure. Ito yung isa sa benefit na makukuha natin from internet commerce. It is the rapid creation of business partnership to fill market niches as they emerge. Sa traditional business, kapag mataas ang demand sa product, means kailangan mo ng malaking inventory, which also means kailangan mo ng malaking budget para makabili ng inventory, cost sa pag-maintain ng inventory at control cost to make sure na secured ang mga products. For the company, costly ito at it increase risk sa company. Dito na papasok yung dynamic visual organization. Na instead na mag-stock sila ng inventory, yung trading partners na ng company, which are the manufacturers, distributors, and publishers, ang may hawak na ng product. So, nakakalas ito ng cost for the organization or companies. Ngayon, let's discuss the different risks associated with electronic commerce. Business risk is the possibility of loss or injury that can reduce or eliminate an organization's ability to achieve its objectives. Under this, there are two forms of business risk, the intranet risk, which I will discuss, and internet risk, which will be discussed by the next reporter. Intranet risk, it is posed by dishonest employees who have the technical knowledge and precision to perpetrate frauds. Their motives for doing harm may be vengeance against the company, the challenge of breaking into unauthorized files, or to profit from selling trade secrets or embezzling assets. Ngayon, alamin naman natin kung ano yung mga bagay na nag increase sa intranet risk. Interception of network message. The individual nodes on most intranets are connected to a shared channel across which travel users' IDs, passwords, confidential emails, and financial data files. The unauthorized interception of this information by a node on the network is called sniffing. Next is access to corporate database. Intranets connected to central corporate database increase the risk that an employee will view, corrupt, change, or copy data. Example, outsiders may bribe employees who have access privileges to financial access to electronically write off an accounts receivable or erase an outstanding tax bill. Next is privileged employees. Again, it's because of their access to data. And lastly, reluctance to prosecute. Some companies did not report the intrusion dahil sa takot kung ano yung magiging reaction ng public kapag nalaman nila na may ganito nga naganap. Pero dahil din dito, many computer criminals are repeater offenders. So that's all for me. Let's learn the next lessons from Miss Alex.
Thank you, Ivy. Good day, everyone. I am Alessandra Cruz, and let's dive into the substantial risks associated with internet commerce. It begins by examining risks concerning consumer privacy and transaction security, followed by an exploration of the threats posed to businesses by fraud and malicious activities. Let's first talk about the risks concerning to consumers. The rapid expansion of internet usage has given rise to a surge of internet fraud. Consequently, a significant portion of consumers view the internet as an unsafe environment for conducting business. Concerns primarily revolve around the safeguarding consumer privacy and transaction confidentiality. The subsequent discussion outlines some prevalent threats that consumers face from cybercriminals. Firstly, the theft of credit card numbers. Consumer apprehensions regarding credit card security during online transactions stand as a considerable barrier to electronic commerce. Certain internet entities either neglect or engage fraudulent practices while collecting, utilizing, and storing credit card information. Another form of fraud encompasses setting up a sham businesses to capture credit card data. For instance, a business might accept orders for Mother's Day flowers deliveries, only to shut down on the actual day without fulfilling the orders. This kind of operation leaves customers information exposed to exploitation. Next is the theft of passwords. A prevalent form of internet fraud entails the creation of deceptive websites designed to steal users' passwords. Visitors are prompted to register and provide an email address and password to access the site. Since many individuals use the same password for multiple applications, or like, for example, ATM services, email, and work network access, cybercriminals exploit this behavior to infiltrate various accounts. Next is the consumer privacy. Concerns about compromised privacy as a act of significant deterrent to engaging to internet commerce. Research indicates that a substantial portion of non-internet users would consider using the internet if their personal data could be adequately safeguarded. Privacy remains the primary reason deterring individuals from participating in online commerce. Various advocacy groups such as the Center for Democracy and Technology, or the CDT, Electronic Frontier Foundation, or the EFF, and Electronic Privacy Information Center, or the EPIF, have formed coalitions to advocate for enhanced privacy measures. The concern over privacy extends to the capture and utilization of cookies by websites. Cookies containing user data are generated by visited websites, servers, and stored on users' computers. These cookies facilitate site revisit efficiency. Nevertheless, the privacy debates ensued over the extent of information gathered and its subsequent utilization, including the creation of user profiles for marketing purposes. Furthermore, the security implications of cookies raise apprehensions. Cookies are text files that can be accessed by any text editor. Some websites store user passwords within cookies, risking unauthorized access. Malicious websites can implant JavaScript programs on users' computer that extract cookies, including sensitive data, and transmit them back to the attackers. Next is the risks concerning to businesses. Businesses or business entities aren't immune to the perils of internet commerce. This section outlines three major concerns: IP spoofing, denial of service attacks, and the malicious software. First, IP spoofing. IP spoofing involves impersonation to gain unauthorized access to a web server or execute unlawful activities without revealing the perpetrator's identity. By altering the IP address of the originating computer, the criminal obscures their identity. IP spoofing can be a breach control systems designated or designed to accept transmissions from trusted sources, allowing unauthorized activities like fraud, espionage, or data destruction. Next, the denial of service, or the DOS. The DOS attacks targets a web server to render it unable to service legitimate users. Different DOS attacks types exist, but all disrupt business operations and transactions. A SYN flood attack, for example, overwhelms a server with incomplete communication requests, hindering legitimate transaction. Next is the other type of a denial of service attack, the distributed denial of services, or the DDoS. DDoS attacks expands DOS attack scale by employing numerous compromised computers, forming a botnet. Hackers exploit poor security in internet relay chat, or the IRC networks, infecting thousands of computers with malicious codes. These zombies from botnet enabling coordinated and devastating DDoS attack. Lastly, other malicious programs. Viruses, worms, logic bombs, Trojan horses endanger both internet and intranet users. They cannot corrupt system, databases, and compromise security. This issue extends beyond e-commerce and merits further discussion in later sections. Next, let's talk about security, assurance, and trust. Trust serves as a linchpin sustaining electronic commerce. Businesses must demonstrate integrity, competence, and fair practices. This entails implementing robust security measures and assuring customers and partners for efficacy. Data security involves encryption, digital authentication, and firewalls. This mechanism bolster trust, which is crucial for a thriving e-commerce landscape. First is the encryption. Encryption transforms data into a secret code for a secure storage transmission. Modern encryption methods rely on keys algorithms to encode and then decode messages. Public key encryption mitigates security associated with key sharing, enhancing data protection. Advanced Encryption Standard or the AES and the Revest, Shamir, Adelman or the RSA are example of encryption techniques. Next is the digital authentication. Digital signatures verify the authenticity and integrity of messages. They use encrypted digests to confirm that a message originated from an authorized sender was unaltered. Digital certificates issued by certifications authorities or the CAS provides an electronic identification mechanism for verifying message senders. Public key infrastructure or the PKI oversees these processes to maintain secure communication channels. Next and last, firewalls. In the fast-paced world, the internet commerce security is paramount. Firewalls emerge as vital sentinels fortifying digital defenses against potential threats. Essentially, firewalls are security barriers, software and hardware, standing between trusted networks and the unpredictable internet terrain. Firewalls regulate network access, threatening unauthorized users from breaching sensitive data. It filters incoming traffic, halting malware before it infiltrates the network. Firewall counters DOS attacks by managing excessive traffic floods. In conclusion, the internet can be a risky place for both consumers and businesses. However, by taking steps to protect themselves, businesses and the consumers can reduce the risk associated with online commerce. The risks of internet commerce are constantly evolving, so it is important to stay up to date on the latest threats. There are a number of resources available to help businesses and consumers protect themselves from internet risks such as the National Cybersecurity Alliance and the Federal Trade Commission. By taking steps to protect themselves, business and consumers can help to create a more secure and trustworthy online environment. That's all for me. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Alex. Let's continue the discussion on security, assurance, and trust with firewall and seals of assurance, then move on discussing the implications for the accounting profession and network topologies later on. Let's start with firewall. Firewall, according to James Hall, is a system used to insulate an organization's internet from the internet. A firewall is a critical system employed by organizations to create a protective barrier between their internal networks known as intranets and the vast expanse of the internet. Its primary purpose is to ensure the security of the organization's digital assets and sensitive information by regulating the flow of data between these two domains. Firewall can be used to authenticate an outside user of the network. One of the pivotal functions of a firewall is to authenticate users attempting to access the organization's network from the outside. This involves confirming the identity of the user before allowing any data exchange to take place. Next, verify his or her level of access authority. Once a user's identity is established, the firewall assesses the level of access authority granted to that particular user. This step ensures that users can only access the resources for which they have proper authorization, and then direct that user to the program data or service requested. Upon successful authentication and authorization, the firewall plays a crucial role in directing that user to the specific program, data, or service they are seeking. This controlled and guided data exchange prevents unauthorized access and potential security breaches. Firewalls can also be used to protect LANs from unauthorized internet access. This entails preventing unauthorized users or devices within the organization from gaining access to sensitive internal resources. Next, the common configuration employs two firewalls. First is network level firewall. This type of firewall provides a basic level of security by screening and filtering low security messages. It routes these messages to their intended destinations based on the source and destination addresses attached to them. The other one is application level firewall. The application level firewall offers a more robust form of network security. It operates at a higher level of the network stack and is capable of analyzing the content and behavior of data packets. This allows it to detect and block sophisticated threats that might bypass the network level firewall. Next to firewall is the seals of assurance. High demand for evidence that a web-based business is trustworthy led to a number of trusted third-party organizations that offer seals of assurance that businesses can display on their website homepages. To legitimately bear the seal, the company must show it complies with certain business practices, capabilities, and controls. Here are the 6 seal-granting organizations mentioned in James Hall's book. Better Business Bureau, or BBB. It is a non-profit organization since 1912 that encourages fair business practices. They've expanded to the internet with BBB Online Incorporation, focusing on business policies, ethical ads, and consumer privacy. However, they don't check transaction security. Next is Trustee. It started in 1996. It's a non-profit ensuring website protect consumer privacy. Members must follow the rules or their trust seal can be taken away. Next is VeriSign Incorporation. It is established in 1995. It assures secure data transmission. It doesn't verify stored data security or business aspects. They aim to make online communication and commerce safe through digital certificates. Next, International Computer Security Association, or ICSA. They began in 1996, focusing on data security and privacy but not business practices. Next, AICPA/CICA Web Trust. It initiated in 1997 by 2 groups. It certifies businesses after a thorough review by special experts. It assesses policies, transaction integrity, and data security. Lastly, AICPA/CICA Sys Trust was introduced in 1999. It's an assurance service evaluating system reliability for businesses' specific purposes. It involves a public accountant assessing availability, security, integrity, and maintainability. And that's all for security assurance and trusts. Let's move forward to implications for accounting profession. In the world of auditing and public accounting, there are significant concerns arising due to modern processes like automatic, digital, and real-time inventory management, sales, shipping, and cash handling. Auditors are grappling with the task of creating fresh methods to ensure that controls are effective and that economic activities are accurately recorded and validated. Here are some of the issues with increasing importance to auditors in the electronic commerce age: privacy violation, continuous auditing, electronic audit trails, confidentiality of data, authentication non-repudiation, data integrity, access controls, and a changing legal environment. Let's start with privacy violation. Privacy revolves around how well an organization safeguards the confidentiality of customer and trading partner data. This also extends to the information that websites gather from visitors who may not necessarily be customers. Some key concerns within privacy violations include: does the organization have a stated privacy policy? What mechanisms are in place to ensure the consistent application of stated privacy policies? What information on customers, trading partners, and visitors does the company capture? Does the organization share or sell its customer, trading partner, or visitor information? And lastly, can individuals and business entities verify and update the information captured about them? The increasing reliance on internet technologies for businesses has highlighted the risk of privacy violations for client entities. To address this, some firms have introduced assurance surveys to assess privacy violation risks. A KPMG white paper underscores the significance customers place on privacy, indicating that having strong privacy protection policies can set companies apart. Auditors assessing management practices and privacy policies need to be meticulous. The Safe Harbor Agreement, established in 1995, reiterates privacy's importance. This agreement between the US and the European Union outlines data transmission standards. The Safe Harbor principles allow US companies to operate in the European Union by demonstrating adequate privacy protection. Non-compliant entities might be barred from European Union business. To comply, companies must meet six conditions. First, notice. Organizations must clearly inform individuals about the reasons for data collection, disclosure to third parties, and contract information for inquiries or complaints. Next, choice. Customers should have the option to decide whether to share sensitive information before data collection. Next, onward transfer. Information sharing with third parties is limited to those following safe harbor principles. Next, security and data integrity. Organizations must maintain accurate, reliable, and secure data guarding against loss or misuse. Next, access. Individuals should have access to their personal data and the ability to correct or delete it, barring undue burden or rights violation. Lastly, enforcement. Organizations must enforce compliance, offer remedies for privacy breaches, and apply sanctions for noncompliance among employees and agents. That's all for privacy violation. Let's move forward to continuous auditing. This is the definition shown on James Hall's book. Continuous auditing techniques involve creating methods that allow auditors to regularly examine transactions either as they happen or at frequent intervals. This approach requires the use of intelligent control agents, which are essentially computer programs. These controls agents are designed with specific rules set by auditors called heuristics to analyze electronic transactions and look for any irregularities or anomalies. Here's how it works. These control agents scan through electronic transactions like a virtual detective, searching for anything that doesn't seem right based on the rules set by auditors. When they spot something unusual, they don't immediately sound an alarm. Instead, they try to find other similar occurrence to figure out if there's a pattern or a reasonable explanation for the anomaly. Next is electronic audit trails. This is how James Hall defines it. Imagine a situation where companies exchange businesses info electronically. One company's computer sends info to another's through a network. The receiving company's computer handles this info without humans getting involved. In this setup, audits might need to check important systems of everyone involved. Checking these electronic transactions might include looking at the systems of the client, the other company they're trading with, the network that connects them. This could mean directly checking these systems or auditors from different companies working together to review them. Next, confidentiality of data. As systems become more open for business transactions with partners, important data becomes vulnerable to both internal and external threats. Accountants should grasp encryption methods for data security, evaluating encryption tools, and how keys are managed. The term mission control, mission critical, now covers more than just financial aspects, requiring a comprehensive approach to evaluating internal controls for data confidentiality. Next, authentication. In traditional systems, sales orders sales orders are considered real because they are used on physical paper. But in digital commerce, confirming a customer's identity isn't straightforward. There are no paper forms to rely on. Instead, digital signatures and certificates are used for confirmation. Accountants need to learn these technologies to make sure everything is secure and accurate. Next, non-repudiation. Shown is how James Hall defines it. Accountants check if transactions in sales, accounts receivables, purchases, and liabilities are correct and complete. Some transactions can be denied by a partner, causing loss of money or legal issues. In old systems, physical papers like signed invoices prove transactions. However, in online systems, digital signatures and certificates serve the same purpose. Next, data integrity. A non-repudiated transaction from an authentic trading partner may still be intercepted and rendered inaccurate in a material way. In a paper-based environment, such alterations are easy to detect. Even if a transaction seems legitimate, it can be changed during digital transmission. Accountants need to learn about techniques like creating document digests and using digital signatures to ensure the accuracy and security of digital data. Next, access controls. To ensure the safety of an organization's information system, it's crucial to have measures that stop or identify unauthorized access. Organizations linked to the internet face higher risks from external intruders. Accounting firms must be skilled in evaluating their clients' access controls. Many firms are now conducting penetration tests, which stimulate techniques used by hackers and crackers to evaluate the effectiveness of their clients' access controls. Lastly, a changing legal environment. Accountants have typically helped their clients identify and reduce risks in their businesses. With the rise of internet commerce, this role has become even more important due to the evolving legal landscape and new risks. To gauge how much legal responsibility a client might have, accountants need to understand the legal consequences of the online transactions their clients' businesses handles, both domestically and internationally. For instance, when customers order items from a website, the company becomes part of various legal systems, potentially causing conflicts. New legal challenges arise around taxes, privacy, security, intellectual property, and defamation. Accountants need to quickly give accurate advice on these legal matters to their clients. That's all of the important issues to auditors in the electronic commerce age. Again, these are privacy violation, continuous auditing, electronic audit trails, confidentiality of data, authentication, non-repudiation, data integrity, access controls, and a changing legal environment. Let's now move on the last topic that I would be discussing, which is the network topology. Network topologies. A network topology is how the parts of a network are arranged physically. We will look at five main types today, which are star, hierarchical, ring, bus, and client server. These basic models often form the basis for various network setups. The topics that will be covered today are differentiating between local area networks and wide area networks, understanding network interface cards, the role of servers in a network, exploring the star topology, learning about hierarchical topology, understanding ring topology, explaining bus topology, and discussing client server topology. Starting with differentiating LANs and WANs. Networks can be grouped by how big an area they cover. There are two main types, local area network or LANs and wide area networks or WANs. LANs are usually in one building or nearby buildings. They can even cover miles, connecting many users. The things connected to a LAN are called nodes. When a network goes beyond a LAN's reach, it's a WAN. WANs are used for long distances whether settling up infrastructure is expensive. They are often rented by organizations. WANs can link various things like workstations, computers, and LANs. They join different parts of a big organization or connect different organizations in partnerships. Next, network interface cards. To link workstations to a LAN, A special card called a network interface card is used. This card fits into a slot in the computer. The NIC has electronic parts that help devices communicate with each other on the network. It collaborates with a network control program to send and get messages, programs, and files through the network. In a way, the NIC acts as a bridge for communication between devices on the network. Next, servers. In a LAN, computers nodes often use common things like programs, data, and printers. These are managed by special computers called servers. When a request for sources comes to a server, it's put in line and dealt with one by one. In the LAN, computers share programs, data, and printers overseen by servers. Resources requests to servers are queued and processed sequentially. Networks connect using bridges for similar LANs and gateways for different types, including LANs to WANs, as you can see on the illustration below. Next, star topology. The star topology is a network arrangement where a main central computer, the host, is connected to smaller computers around the edges. This central host manages communications between all the connected computers. Star topology is often used in wide area networks, once, especially when the central computer is a mainframe. The smaller connected computers can be different types, like microcomputers, mini-computers, or mainframes. They might have their own databases, or they might share common data with the central host. If some computers in the star network fail, others can still communicate through the central host. But if the central host fails, individual computers can work locally but can't communicate with each other. For transactions, things like sales are processed instantly at the local computer terminals. At the end of the day, sales data and inventory info are sent to the central host. The central host updates accounts, prepares bills, and manages inventory for the entire network. The main idea of the star topology is that most communication is between the central host and the connected computers, but limited communication between the connected computers is possible through the central host. For instance, if a computer from one place buys in another, the transaction might go through the central host to reach the right database. This procedure could change based on how the database are set up. That would be all for me. I am passing the other network topology topics discussion to my co-reporter, Warren Carlo Manulat. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ahlea Labay, for the wonderful discussion. I am Walang Manulat, and I am here to continue the discussion about the other types of topologies, as well as network control and what is EDI. To continue, the fourth type of network topology is the hierarchical topology. This one is a topology wherein the host's computer is connected to several levels of subordinate, smaller computers in a master-slave relationship. This structure is applicable to firms with many organizational levels that must be controlled from a central location. As we can see on the figure shown, there is a hierarchy in which information is passed on. An example relating to this particular topology figure is, for example, when a sale transaction has been processed, it will be recorded on the sales processing system on the local level, and it will be transferred to the regional level, and from regional level to corporate level. Any changes in the system by the corporate level will be passed down to regional level and then passed on to the local level. Now, the fifth type of the network topology is called the bus topology. This is the most popular LAN topology because all nodes are connected to a single common pathway or cable. And this is called the bus, which is the single long horizontal line in the figure. One or more servers centrally control communications and file transfers between workstations. Compared to the ring topology, which can only transmit one node at a time, bus topology is much more simple, reliable, and generally less costly to install. The next one is the ring topology. As we can see, there is no central site in this topology. It is a peer-to-peer arrangement in which all nodes are equal of status. which means the responsibility for communication is also equally distributed by each node. Every node on the ring has a unique electronic address, which is attached to messages such as an address on an envelope. For example, if node A wants to send something to node D, it will be first received by node B and passed on to node C before it reaches node D. For additional information, the ring topology may also be used for wide area network. Now, for the seventh and last topology, we will discuss the client-server topology. The term client-server is often misused to describe any type of network arrangement. In fact, the client-server topology has specific characteristics that distinguish it from other topologies. Traditional data distribution processing system or traditional DDP system has a risk of having jams since the access is only available to a single user, which means other users have to wait before the first user is done, resulting to longer queues and data traffic jams. Unlike the client-server topology, only a single record, rather than the entire file, must be locked and sent to the client for processing. And after processing, the record is returned to the server, which restores it to the table and removes the lock and can be accessed again by another user. And that will be all for the all the types of network topology. Now we will move on to the network control. In network control, we examine methods for controlling communications between the physical devices connected to the network. The purpose of the network control is to establish a communication session between the sender and the receiver. It also, one of its purpose is to manage the flow of data across the network, detect and resolve data collisions between competing nodes, lastly, to detect errors in data that line failure or signal degeneration cause. Now, data collision. To achieve effective network control, there must be an exclusive link or session established between a transmitting and a receiving node. Only one node at a time can transmit a message on a single line. Two or more signals transmitted simultaneously will result into a data collision. This is the reason why network control is crucial in an organization, since this will incur losses. The first Now we will move on to the network control techniques. The first one is polling. The first and the most popular network control technique is polling. This is the most popular technique for establishing a communication session in one WAN, or known as wide area network. It can also be used with either ring or bus topologies. The advantages include being non-contentious, in which when a data is requested by the master node as seen in the figure, two nodes cannot access the network simultaneously so that the data collision can be prevented. And organization can also set priorities for data communications across the network. The second one is token passing. This involves transmitting a special signal which is called the token and is passed on in a particular or specific sequence. Each node on the network receives the token, regenerates it, and passes it to the next node. Only the node possessing the token is allowed to transmit the data. As seen in the figure, this is the best technique for ring topology and bus topology. The major advantage of this particular technique is that it is an deterministic access method. Next one is the third technique is called carrier sensing. Carrier sensing is a random access technique that detects collision only when they occur. It is formally labeled as carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, or CSMA-CD, and is used with the bus topology. If the node wishes to transmit, it will listen to the bus and determine if it is in use. And when the node senses that there is no transmission in progress, or there is no carrier, the node will now transmit its message to the receiving node. This approach is not as fail-safe as token passing. This is actually as is described on its definition in the following descriptions. Now we will move on to the next topic, which will be all about electronic data interchange, or also known as EDI. We all know that almost all of the organizations and companies collaborate to each other to form partnership agreement so that they can coordinate sales and production operations and to maintain an uninterrupted flow of raw materials. And the electronic data interchange or EDI is the one that makes it happen. First, let's define the general definition of EDI. EDI is an intercompany exchange of computer processable business information in standard format. It mainly has three features. The first one is that it is an interorganizational endeavor. Therefore, both companies or organizations should collaborate and work together, and they should not engage in EDI alone or by themselves. The second one is that it automatically processes transactions involved between two or more companies so that there will be no more hassle in manually recording it. And lastly, the transaction information is transmitted in a standardized format. Therefore, we can conclude that the firms with different internal systems can exchange information and do business, of course. And that will be all for my report. Now, may I call on Miss Sophia Judin to discuss further what is EDI and its standards. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Manulat. Once again, this is Sophia Yssabel Judin and the last reporter for this chapter. And I will be continuing the report about EDI. So EDI standards has two formats. These are American National Standards Institute or ANSI X12 format, which are the standard in the United States, and EDI for Administration, Commerce, and Transport or EDIFAC format, which are the standard used internationally. Here on the left side corner, you can see the figure that shows the X12 format. Now let's identify each part and its functions. Let's start with electronic envelope. The electronic envelope contains the electronic address of the receiver, communications protocols, and control information. This is the electronic equivalent of a traditional paper envelope. Next one is the functional group. A functional group is a collection of transaction sets or electronic documents for a particular business application, such as a group of sales invoices or purchase orders. And last, we have transaction set. The transaction set is the electronic document and is composed of data segments and data elements. Figure 12-18 relates to these terms to a conventional document. So relationship between X12 format and a conventional source document. Each data segment is an information category on the document, such as part number, unit price, or vendor name. The data elements are specific items of data related to a segment. As you can see here in the example in figure 12-18, these include such items as Rex 446 or $127.86 and Osman Supply. These 6 here are the benefits of EDI. Let's start with data keying. EDI reduces or even eliminates the need for data entry. Next, error reduction. Firms using EDI see reductions in data keying errors, human interpretation and classification errors, and filing errors or lost documents. Next, reduction of paper. The use of electronic envelopes and documents reduces drastically the paper forms in the system. Next is postage. Mailed documents are replaced with much cheaper data transmissions. Next, automated procedures. EDI automates manual activities associated with purchasing, sales order processing, cash disbursements, and cash receipts. And lastly, inventory reduction. By ordering directly as needed from vendors, EDI reduces the lag time that promotes inventory accumulation. Let's now go to the financial EDI. Using electronic funds transfer or EFT for cash disbursement and cash receipts processing is more complicated than using EDI for purchasing and selling activities. EFT requires intermediary banks between trading partners. This arrangement is shown here in the figure 12-19. The buyer's EDI system receives the purchase invoices and automatically approves them for payment. On the payment date, the buyer system automatically makes an EFT to its originating bank or the OBK. The OBK removes funds from the buyer's account and transmits them electronically to the automatic clearinghouse or the ACH bank. The ACH is the central bank that carries accounts for its member banks. The ACH transfers the funds from the OBK to the receiving bank or the RBK, which in turn applies the funds to the seller account. Recognizing the void between services demanded and those the ACH system supplies, many banks have established themselves as value-added banks or VABs to compete for this market. A VAB can accept electronic disbursements and remittance advice from its clients in any format. It converts EDI transactions to the ANSI X12 and A20 formats for electronic processing. In the case of non-EDI transactions, the VAB writes traditional checks to the creditor. The services VABs offer allow their clients to employ a single cash disbursement system that can accommodate both EDI and non-EDI customers. Let's now go to the Open System Interface or OSI network protocol. The OSI model provides standards by which the products of different manufacturers can interface with one another in a seamless interconnection at the user level. Figure 12-20 shows the 7-layer model. The OSI standard has the following general features. For each layer in the model is independent, which allows the development of separate protocols specifically for each layer. Second, the layers at each node communicate logically with their counterpart layer across nodes. The physical flow of data and parameters pass between layers. Each layer performs specific subtasks that support the layer above it and are in turn supported by the layer below it. And third, the model distinguishes between the tasks of data communications and data manipulation. The first 4 layers are dedicated to data communications tasks, which are a function of hardware devices and special software. The last 3 layers support data manipulation, which is a function of user applications and operating systems. The specific function of each layer is described in the following slides. Let's start with the first layer, physical layer. The physical layer is the first and lowest level in the protocol. Defines standards for the physical interconnection of devices to the electronic circuit. This level is concerned with pin connections to devices, the wiring of workstations, and cabling standards. An example of a standard at this layer is the RS-232 connector cable that virtually all microcomputer manufacturers use. The second layer is the data link layer. The data link layer protocols are concerned with the transmission of packets of data from node to node based on the workstation address. This includes message origination, acknowledgement of message receipt, and error detection and retransmission. The third layer is the network layer. Network layer protocols deal with the routing and relaying of data to different LANs and WANs based on the network address. They specify how to identify nodes on a network and regulate the sequencing of messages to the nodes. In addition, this third layer describes how packet data are transferred between networks with different architectures, which permits the synchronization of data. The fourth layer is the transport layer. The purpose of transport layer is to ensure delivery of the entire file or message across individual networks and multiple networks, regardless of the number and type of the similar devices involved. If a transmission error is detected, this layer defines the retransmission methods to ensure the complete and accurate delivery of the message. In addition, the transport layer seeks the connection between users that best meets the user's need for message packeting and multiplexing messages. These protocols provide the logic for segmenting long messages into smaller units and, at the receiving end, reassembling the packets into the original message. The fifth layer is a session layer. Is a specific connection between two users or entities on the network. The purpose of this layer is to guarantee a correct and synchronized connection. At this level, the protocols for starting a session may require a user password to establish the legitimacy of the connection. Protocols may also determine priorities of sessions and rules for interrupting and reestablishing the session. For example, a transmission of higher priority may interrupt a transmission of a large document. Session protocols define the rules for such interruptions and the procedures for resuming the original transmission. The sixth layer is the presentation layer. In the presentation layer, data in transit are often in a format that is very different from what the user's application requires. During transmission, data may be compressed to increase transfer speeds, blocked for efficiency, and encrypted for security. Presentation protocols provide the rules for editing, formatting, converting, and displaying data to the user system. And the last and seventh layer is the application layer. The application layer provides the overall environment for the user or the user's application to access the network. This layer provides what is called common application services. These services, common to all communicating applications, include protocols for network management, file transfer, and email. The uniqueness of user applications makes this layer the least amenable to general standards. By their very nature, protocols at this level impinge upon application structure and function. Consequently, these are the least rigorously defined rules. Most of the protocols here tend to be defined. For example, an individual vendor's database management system may provide the application layer protocols for managing file transfers. And that is all for our report. Once again, this is Sophia Yssabel Judin, together with my co-members Alessandra Cruz, Donna Jacinto, Ahlea Labay, Warren Manulat, and Uanang. We all thank you for watching and listening to our report. Don't forget to comment on what you have learned and like this video. Bye!